iintsimbi zethu esikolweni, ngoba kaloku sibizwa ngamagama abuhlungu, amagama achukumisayo, amagama alilisayo. Today, njengoba nenza le video nje, I am willing to stand up and fight. I am willing to stand up ndimele abantwana abangamagqirha abangakwaziyo ukuzithethela, ngoba eli hlobo siphila ngalo libuhlungu, ngoba sitreatwa as like asingobantu kodwa singabantu.
Let's face it, some teachers are just dandites. They're just idiots. I mean, in real life, not only in the classroom, in real life, some teachers are just dandites, are idiots. So you don't expect to see a different kind of behavior when they go into the classroom. You can see how stupid and how idiotic they are, even in the way they are approaching their teaching. We're not saying they don't know their content. They might know their content, but pure human interaction, understanding human emotions and really getting to know people is something they will find very, very difficult. So you wouldn't find these teachers, they want to change in the classroom simply because it's a classroom. Some teachers thrive on and really feed on saying derogatory, demeaning, and very, very, very hateful things to students. It is what they do every day when they go into the lesson, and students expect it, and some really enjoy it because they will be laughing. There are some students in a classroom, I know this because I'm a teacher, there are some students in a classroom who are targets of these teachers almost every day. The teacher has to go to a class, he has to say something bad, something that is really demeaning to a student, to that particular student. Some students find the learning environment very hostile, not because of other students, not because of the bullying from other students, but from the comments and from the things that the teacher say to them. If you ask students, they know this. And because there's no any system of protecting these kids from these teachers, it has been perpetuated over the years. It used to happen when we were at school ourselves. And maybe some of us were even targets of some of these teachers. And it's still happening now. And it happens when you are teaching, you see these teachers doing it every day. And usually there's no way you can help those kids. You find it very difficult, otherwise you'll be starting a fight, because this teacher, this is maybe his life, Brad. The only thing that he thrives on, the only thing that makes him tick as a teacher, this is the only thing that makes him feel that he's a teacher when he says something bad and makes a student or a pupil feel very small with the things that he says. We are not always saying all teachers are like this, but they are definitely, without any doubt, some teachers, and there are a lot of them who are like that. A lot of them, a greater proportion, maybe let me say 35% of the teachers are like that. Now that they've been forbidden from beating, from making corporal punishment of kids, because the only thing that they can thrive on is the verbal abuse that they can issue out, the verbal abuse that they can unleash on these kids, because you can't beat them because the law doesn't allow it now. Also have to take note of the fact that teachers sometimes are the chaff that is maybe the chaff that other departments are, maybe the private industry, other areas have just said no, we can't take this. This is just too mediocre. Teachers sometimes are just pure mediocre staff that maybe can't go anywhere, because they become teachers because they can't go anywhere else. And because they are become teachers out of desperation, teaching, they never take it very seriously. It's different because we say teaching is supposed to be a calling, but it's not a calling for most of the teachers that are in the teaching industry, are in the teaching fraternity, or other teachers who are teaching right now, who are teaching, are not there because there is a calling. They are there because it's the only thing that they can do. Otherwise, if they find any option, they will just leave teaching. So I don't know whether there's any method or any way or any, I don't know what tactic can be used to sift out these teachers who are like this, especially when it comes to situations whereby they say these things. And these things will lead to the death of a very innocent kid whom they should have understood, and who should have identified at least one teacher, only one teacher, and said, maybe I can talk to this teacher. You find out in some schools, the whole staff complement is made up of teachers who are just plain stupid. And some schools are also made up of teachers who are just very good. They whole, maybe you find a few rotten apples here and there, but some schools are made up of very, very good teachers. The whole staff complement is made up of very good teachers. But some schools are condemned to very useless teachers. Teachers who can't even understand what they are doing. Teachers who just show up in a class and maybe walk up and down for a few minutes, they just give a few instructions before they go out to do the next thing that they will be doing, maybe their own personal business. This is this is what is real about the teaching situation, about the education system in most African countries. This is the way it is. So when it comes to situations like this, when you are faced with the situations like this, you begin wondering what is happening, why are teachers, because in a real good teaching environment, in an education environment, you find that a student who is so grossly abused by other students, who is being bullied by other students, will find at least one teacher, or at least one teacher will identify that this pupil, this student is having a problem. This pupil is not talking to anyone. You call him out. You call her out, please come here. What is the problem? What is happening to you these days? I find you. There's some students, most of them will open up to a teacher, especially a teacher who shows some concern about their well-being, about their mental, social, and intellectual well-being. They will open up, and it might not lead up to a death of a pupil like what happened in this situation where you find a people who has a calling as a traditional healer is being is under attack most of the time, because people don't understand this. We are all transitioning to Christianity, and Christianity usually look at these things in a very negative way, and some of these teachers belong to some churches which really don't appreciate what tradition has to offer. And maybe they use their religion as a way or as a platform to attack kids like this. And they are attacking a kid. This girl is just a kid. They don't even realize it, because in their head they are so stupid they can't distinguish between a kid and, because most of the teachers, in fact, teachers in schools are supposed to act in loco parentis. They are supposed to act in loco parentis. In place of a parent, they are a parent. When they're in school, when the parents send their kids to school, they are sending them to parents who are there, who in the form of teachers. And a teacher is supposed to act as a parent, and I have never heard of any parent calling his or her child a witch. I've never heard about that. Of course, there are some crazy parents who will do that. Maybe, in this case, they are represented by these two teachers who would call this girl, very innocent girl, a witch or whatever it is. And these bullies, these other kids who are bullying her, maybe they were just looking at what the teachers were doing and were taking advantage of what the teachers were saying. That's what kids do. And I don't blame kids for doing that, because you can't blame kids for being kids. Especially in a situation where there are rotten apples, like teachers who are rotten, who are mentally retarded like that. What is the option that these other kids have? You find out in schools, teachers will isolate or pinpoint certain students and make a mockery of them, and all the other kids will be laughing at that student. A real teacher doing that, and some of them really enjoy it. This is so common. You have to look at this thing, because this is a common phenomenon in most schools. I don't know why it is often ignored. And coupled with the fact that maybe bullying is self-ignored, I once did an article on this other girl who passed away, who was also bullied, Lufuno. It attracts very little interest. You can see that people are not interested in this subject. They become only active. They only become lively about the subject when somebody dies. Like in this case, people are going, demonstrating once she's buried, it's over. They are no longer going to talk about bullying, and nothing is done about it. And I don't think the issue of having a counselor at every school is going to work, or having a counselor, because some teachers are made counselors and they are busy with their own language, with their own teaching, with their own subjects. Once a student approaches them, maybe with needing some help, they have no time for that, because they are saying, no, my plate is very full right now. I don't have any time for counseling. And a dedicated counselor at any given school, I don't think it will work either, because students need to approach somebody that they understand, someone who understands them, someone whom they can trust. And the counselor who is always locked up in it, it's not someone that students can really, I don't think they can trust such a person. It doesn't work with the students, because students want someone that they know, someone whom they can trust, I know Mr. So-and-so, he can listen to me. And Mr. So-and-so knows me also. You understand my problem, I think you. And this happens more often because teachers just teach and go out and do their own business. If teachers were involved in the emotional and social well-being of kids, you can identify and see it. When a student is sitting there, you can see that that kid has got a problem. And maybe you make it your duty, if you are a teacher who is in teaching, by calling, you make it your responsibility to call out that kid and say, please. There are a lot of kids who confess, a lot of people who have grown up now who confess and really are grateful to certain teachers because they called them out one-on-one, not as a class. You don't address a person, or rather a pupil or a student who has got a problem. In the midst of a class, you call them out and take them to your office and then start to interrogate them, or rather start asking them what the problem is. If they do open up, then you help them. Or if you can't, then you find someone who can help. Now the problem is teachers are preoccupied with it. Maybe it's the remuneration, also the money that they get. They're saying, I can't do anything extra. But some teachers do a lot of things extra, even if they are not paid for it. There are a lot of teachers who do extra work. And teachers who also go into this kind of counseling. Teachers who persuade students to play soccer when they realize that this kid is very skillful, but is not even interested. Who take him out and say, please, do you know that you can play soccer and you can make money? Do extra work in terms of persuading kids to do what they're not even aware that it will help them in future. There are a lot of teachers who are like, but the greater proportion of teachers just don't care. Because they have got their own fish to fry, which they are paid for, and maybe they're even complaining that the money is not enough. I'm challenging those teachers. I'm actually challenging those teachers who are in schools to be that special teacher. Just be that special teacher, because I think this is the only thing that can work. Be that special teacher who can, when you are teaching, identify the kids who are having problems. That kid, that student who is having problems, you can see it when you are teaching. Just as they are seated there when you are teaching, you can see that that kid has got a problem. Be that special teacher who draw the kid out and bring him or her to you, and then ask and try to solve his or her own problem or a problem. It helps a lot. You have no idea. You have no idea how that really can change somebody's life, or rather can save a life. You have no idea. You think, maybe I'm just I'm being too intrusive. These are just the kids. They need that kind of help. And you are the parent when you are there. That's what parents do when they are at home. And parents save their own kids from other siblings. If a sibling is bullying the other sibling, you can easily complain to them. My mom is doing this to me. And kids at school don't have anyone to complain to if someone is bullying them. Because these teachers are so impersonal, they are cold and impersonal, and they only come to the class. Remember, in the curriculum, there's no emotional content. You are not supposed to have any personal understanding with any teacher, or rather any friendship with a teacher. But I think all lessons are based on friendship. If you are to be a good teacher, you have to be good friends with your students. There's nothing wrong with that. The whole class that likes you as a teacher. And some will approach you if they have problems. And I'm challenging you teachers to be that special. Be that special teacher. I know most teachers cannot do this. But why can't you be that special teacher whom students will mention when they finish school, when they have their families, and say, that teacher saved my life. I was really I was on crossroads. I was about to commit suicide. I was about to do this. I was about to leave school. I was about to go into drugs. But that Mr. So-and-so, he really saved my life. Why can't you be that special? Because all the other methods, all the other things that can be tried in schools, I think cannot work. Or we have a lot of difficulties and disadvantages. But this works if teachers can take it personally and do it by themselves without having to be instructed, or rather without it being delegated to them as an extra duty. They can. You can. And the good deeds really are often rewarded in an indirect way. They will be rewarded. And you don't have to be rewarded for everything. If you're a teacher, just the satisfaction of having saved someone's life, that is a reward in itself. I think it's a reward. When you are just satisfied because I saved that kid from doing this, I find that more satisfying than maybe a material reward or financial reward. So this thing of teachers, bullying kids, or teachers involved in bullying kids, or maybe copying some students, and instead of defending kids, it's common. What I'm telling you is that it's very common in schools. Teachers disparage and demean kids. It happens every time. I've talked to a few of the kids right now, and they are telling me that it happens. It's very common. I think you can root it out by just identifying the teachers who do that. And maybe, I think they deserve expulsion. They deserve to be dismissed from teaching, because such teachers, they damage the kids' ego. They damage the kids' self-esteem. And when you have done that, you have damaged someone's life permanently. Well, they don't deserve to be in the... There are a lot of people who can teach out there. I believe that myself. Who are ready to do the best that they can on them when they are teaching. Those teachers should be rooted out. Now that it is leading to death. There were times when maybe the situation was different, the environment that we lived in was different. But now the situation has totally changed. Totally changed, and these teachers need to be dealt with. And I think you can root them out because people know them. You can just ask them to write down the teachers who say demeaning things to you, and they can even write down the names of the teachers and what these teachers say to a particular kid. And usually they say it in the open. They don't take the kid up into a corner and tell him that, yeah, you are this and that's this and that. They just, because this is what makes them feel better. The teachers, maybe it boosts the teacher's self-esteem or self-ego. He says it openly in the presence of all the other kids. That's what's fun about it. It doesn't, that's worse, because now the kid has to deal with this kind of, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to deal with. Feels very humiliated and very embarrassed. And it's very difficult to undo that kind of damage. How do they undo this? And this bullying has to be looked at least in a very extensive manner. Don't shout about it when somebody has died like this. Justice for Latita. What justice? Latita has died. I don't see any justice coming to her, because the justice that can only exist is if someone is alive. We are shouting justice for Latita, justice for... Let us try to protect those people who are still living. Lufuno died and people were crying. It's the same cry. Now we are crying out. We are going to wait again for another death, and it will come. From this bullying is never going to end. And a solution should be found, and people should be serious about it. Even if nobody has died from bullying, people should always be working against it. The problem is in schools, it's never mentioned. People don't talk about bullying. It's not regarded as one of the core issues of any particular school. They don't look at it as a serious thing, and unless they lose someone to death like this. But I think it is important to make sure that they teach about it. Maybe they train their teachers to work against it and to root it out, so that they can save even at least one soul, even that one person that you save from death through bullying. It's bigger than any 100 people or any number of people that you might save. This is really heartbreaking. This is bad. This is terrible. And if people don't work on it, it will go on and on and on. And we'll riot as soon as it happens, and then riot until the person is buried, then it dies. Then we start rioting again when the other person is dead. Because it will happen. Latita has died, and someone else will die if people don't do anything about it in the future. Because I know that once she's buried, people will stop talking about this. Then we'll wait for another death again. That's terrible. That's very bad. Actually, that's horrible. Please, let us find a solution to this, and let us always conscientize people, tell your students, there's the headmaster, tell your teachers. Some headmasters never mentioned it, never mention it even in their meetings. They never mention bullying. It's only when somebody's died like this that they start talking about, oh, bullying, what. They don't even understand it enough themselves. They have no solution. They have no formula of dealing with it. It's just something that is there. That they confront. Maybe if it happens at their particular school, it's worse, because now the questions will start to be asked. Hey, what were you doing about it? And then you realize that there was nothing about bullying, nothing at all, nothing. It was just bullying is becoming very serious, especially with this online thing, with these social media platforms. You need to be serious about it, especially you headmasters, heads of schools. You need to be serious, because only through you can teachers know. You can have a program. You can teach your teachers. You can really conscientize them. There should be awareness from teachers to the kids, the peoples. They should know that they should tell someone. And Latita died because she could not tell anybody anymore, because she could not trust anyone anymore, because it looked like everyone was turned against it. It looked like nobody understood it. And yet, now when she has died like this, the people seem to demonstrate that they understood her, which I think is just, it's just pure hypocrisy. You didn't understand her. That's what she realized. Because if you understood her, she would be alive right now. She realized that not even my mom, not even my teachers, not even my pastor, I can't talk to anyone. They are saying that she became very reclusive, which means that she realized that if I talk a lot about this thing, it will only be worsening the situation. She had promised to fight. I think the first person whom she really demonstrated that she would fight, she was just negative. She realized that this fight, I can't take it anywhere else. I can't win. It's a fight that I'll never win. Because most of these schools are now Christian schools. This kind of phenomenon. This kind of calling that she has. I am telling you that a lot of people are saying, we understood it. Hey, what, no, that's nonsense. You don't understand it. That's the truth. And there's no any form of help you might have given her, because it's something that you don't understand. It's being displaced. There's no place for it anywhere else in your schools. You don't have any place for that. But if it was somebody singing a gospel song, everyone will join in, because that's something that you would definitely understand. I'm not saying Christianity is bad, but I think this is a result of a displacement of our traditional culture and habits and spirituality by Christianity. And a lot of people now will subscribe to Christianity, and with these prophets, the men of God cropping up, condemning whatever form of traditional spirituality that we have, a lot of people will find it very easy to laugh at a lady like this one and maybe send her to a death, because they, out of ignorance, they think they are defending Christianity. It's sad. It's a sad state of affairs.
I think those teachers must be put in jail for abusing that little girl emotionally and calling her a witch. As teachers, they are supposed to be our role models. They are supposed to protect us as our parents. Bullying someone will kill their self-esteem. As children at schools, we must be taught about African spirituality at schools.
If we cannot be free about our beliefs, where are we supposed to go? If we're going to be discriminated and judged by abantu bakithi abamnyama, how are we supposed to feel? So I feel like what happened to her wasn't something that was supposed to happen.
I believe that if Ulatita had someone like Imboni Uzulezo to guide her in her life, she wouldn't have got to a point yokuthi asibulale. And if Tina abantu abamnyama besingalahlanga amasiko wethu, the people who bullied Latita at her school would have understood Latita's calling better.
People must start knowing who they are. People must start going back to their roots. People must have wisdom and knowledge of African spirituality. Because when we do this, this will prevent bullying at school. It's not easy, it can be depressing, but suicide is never the answer. We should all stand up and unite, especially as young Sangoma and the things we go through, because we do not choose this life, it's a calling, it's a spiritual calling.
As soon as I saw this incident on social media, tears went down my cheek. How dare you judge me because of who I am? Where do you get the audacity to do that? It is utterly disgusting how the school handled this situation. Hashtag justice for Latita.
Mtaka Madiba, wasityanyikila wathi yasilwela shukumisa amathambo ubheka ilizwe lakho kuyonakala la ndicinga xa kuthobulela inkululeko sophilisana kwilizwe elihle siphilisane ngosizi nangoxolo nangovelano kanti kusekhona amarhamu ncambethu ufelo lwegusha beningayazi kulandela amasiko nesithethe sisekulityala sekungaze kuphuma umphefumulo ongenatyala beniyazi phofu ukuba ukuzala wambethu akuyonto ozikhethela yona ngase ndinithathe ndiniphindise kwezamandulo kwixesha lokhokho bethu apho usana olubomvu lusuzwa ngobuso zweni besiqala ngesiko lembeleko intombi ibonwa njengetyatyambo ekhaya igciniswa kumzwenkciyo ukanti amasiko nezithethe ibingumkhombandlela esiboyisa apho kufanele sidlule khona lapho kufanele singanyatheli khona qhubani kodwa unomphefumulo ongenatyala uphumile kuthiwa ungakhalela ufele embelekweni nithi mabakhalele abantwana abantu xa nibatyhala ngongenasizi ningabacingeli uyayazi inhlungu yokuzibona ungamkelekanga phakathi kwabanye abantwana uyayazi inhlungu yokuzibona ungumphochutywa walahla phakathi kwabanye abantwana size sakuthi xento zoba masiphilisane ngoxolo singadyobhadyobhani ngobuxeleko masibe nosizi sibe novelwano imbongi yosiba ndim Avela the Pro.
At the end of this video, I've just included some clippings of students who are very grateful to their teachers. Not grateful to their teachers because of the content that they delivered in the class or in the... No, because they were isolated. These teachers took them out and maybe made them, talked to them face to face, one-on-one. One-on-one. And it changed their lives. And some of them become even emotional when they think about these teachers. They become emotional. Are you such a teacher? If you're a teacher, are you such a teacher who could be remembered by your kids, by some of your students, for having met them one-on-one and helped them on something that maybe has nothing to do with the content of your class, but to do with maybe the way they are going to live, the way they are going, how far they are going to succeed in life. Did you change their course of life in a positive direction? They will remember it. Kids will remember it. People will remember it when they are adults. They will remember it. Like if you look at these videos, these clippings that I'm going to place at the end, you will see that, no, you will think that it's nothing when you're talking to them, but later on in life, when they look back in retrospect, they will see that really, if it wasn't for that teacher who went out of his way, we are not saying you are going to be paid for this. These are things that teachers do that they are never paid for. But that really changes the whole spectrum of someone's life. It can mean the difference between life and death sometimes. When you call out that student and tell him, please, what's harming you? What's the problem? Can I be offended? Please, I don't want to see. You talk to him one-on-one. It might be the only, what to make the difference, maybe the only difference between life and death. You can save someone from death just through that one-on-one talk. Because when you're talking to the class, you are talking to a whole group of people and nobody will think that you are talking directly to them. I think that you are just talking to a crowd of people and it is not personal. When you make it personal and take them one-on-one, they will remember it. Honestly, they will. They will remember it. It's only that some of them will never come back to you and tell you, oh, please say, you helped me so much. They will never. But they will always remember it until the day that they die. They will remember it. Until the end of their days, they will remember it. Very strongly, so vividly, they will always remember it. This is so saddening, Very saddening. It's tragic, very tragic. It's just a kid. Just a kid losing a life over what? Stupid teachers. I don't want to call these kids who were bullying as stupid, because sometimes kids are like that. And they need the protection of teachers. And instead of the teachers protecting them, they are the agents of attack, really. These teachers, instead of protecting this kid, they attacked her. What is that? The Department of Education sometimes recruits the wrong teachers because they just want to fill up places. That is another problem. There's no systems of checks and balances to see who is a good teacher and who is the bad teacher. Teachers are just, when they are just deployed to schools, they just teach until maybe they do a fracas like this one. It's horrible.
I think it will be craziness just because I feel like teachers are, besides our parents, the first people we meet who like shape who we become.
And she was the one teacher who really saw a lot in me to make me feel like I wasn't the kid that other teachers were saying.
And then there was a point where I said, okay, I'm going to fail my French class because I haven't been there. So I haven't done any homework. I'm just going to drop out before I fail. And then she specifically came to me and said, no, I'm going to work out a deal with you so that if you stay, you won't fail.
And when I got accepted into colleges, the first thing I thought is like, I better go. And I better go and tell her. I'm going to be like, guess what? I got into Penn State, I got into a UC, I got into all these colleges.
I felt it. Like, she didn't have to do that, but it made the difference.
You see, I'm getting emotional. Because, like, she's great, you know? Give me a minute. I wouldn't be here without her, you know? And I'd like to thank her so much for that. Thanks, Mr. Victor, you know? Hope you see this, and I hope you know that you mean a lot to me, you know, you're really important.